Am I good? Yeah, sure. Oh my god. I'll just use it.
Okay. How's everyone doing?
Good.
Really? There's pizza and beer and that's the reaction? How's everyone doing? That's what I like. Okay. So, hi everyone, my name is John O'Baker and I work at Canonical as the Ubuntu Community Manager. It's my first time at Mobile Monday and I'm glad it's in my own backyard. I live out in the East Bay. I'm just going to talk through some of the work that we've been doing with Ubuntu before we get onto the panel. I'm going to try and keep this as quick as possible. So first of all, who am I? I work at Canonical, as I say, as the Ubuntu Community Manager. I have a team of 5 people who work on all aspects of the Ubuntu community. And we're working on client devices, phones, tablets, TVs, desktops, as well as focusing on cloud orchestration as well. I also, on the side, do community management consulting. I'm really interested in the art and science of how we build collaborative communities, both internal and external to organizations. So I wrote a book called The Art of Community, which is published by O'Reilly, and I run the annual Community Leadership Summit, which is a place where community managers and leaders go every year to hobnob and share each other's knowledge. So, we're focused on this. How many of you are familiar with Ubuntu? Excellent. Fresh meat. So we started out years ago. I've been there for about 7 years now. We started out originally just focusing on desktops and servers. And we've since started to focus on a fully converged strategy. And this works on 3 different levels. First of all, we're building a platform that is convergent across all these devices. So that means we have a central code base that we will deploy on a TV, a desktop, a tablet, and a mobile as well. So when we fix a bug around a feature in our code base, it maps across all of those different devices. The second element is the user experience. We're building a UI that feels like Ubuntu on each of these different devices, but is customized for that particular screen size as well. And then the third area is application development. We want to build an application platform where you write an app once, and it will be reactive to those different form factors as well. So you can target all of these different devices with your single code base. So just to give you an idea, I mean, we're obviously at Mobile Monday. Most people here care about phones, so I'm just going to show you a 1-minute video that provides an overview of the Ubuntu phone. So when we started out with this, we started looking at the evolution of the phone. Many of you will remember the old phones. And I don't know why our design team thinks 1999 is old. But back in those days we had hardware keyboards. And then phones progressed forward to focusing on on-screen keyboards, but there was still a lot of Chrome available in the phone itself, lots of buttons and scroll bars and everything else. One of the things that we discovered in our user testing and assessing current platforms is people want to focus on content. So the Ubuntu phone is all about getting all of that Chrome out of the way so you can focus on content, but also being able to be contextually responsive to the situation that you're in. So instead of showing lots of buttons and scroll bars, we showed the buttons and scroll bars that are relevant to the situation you're in. I'll talk about that in a second. The other thing is we noticed, OEMs, they want to reduce their bill of materials. The fewer buttons on the phone means there's going to be fewer support issues, it's going to be a cheaper phone. The Ubuntu phone only requires 1 button, the power switch. And we can do everything else using the edges of the phone. So when we started looking at how to build a phone, we explored all kinds of different patterns in nature. We looked at origami, we looked at shapes and visuals in nature. We looked at different aspects of tessellation and how patterns fit together. Because we wanted to build something that wasn't just the same functionally as Android. We wanted to build something that was as beautiful as an iPhone, but more open than Android, and that was our goal. So we started looking at all these different things, and we started applying that to a set of design patterns. But we're not building just a phone. This is all about convergence. So each of these different designs, patterns that we've built, are applicable across all of those different form factors as well, to build this kind of unified experience. So just to give you an example of how it works, when you switch the phone on, when you switch the screen on, and we've got a bunch of demos. We've got 2 phones here that are fully working that you can check out. My colleague Alex, who's going to embarrass himself right now, there he is, that guy at the back in the horrendous pink stripy shirt. He's got a phone with him, so if you want to go and check one out, I've got one with me as well if you want to see it working. But when you switch it on, you see this thing called an infographic. We found that most people, if you're hanging out in a bar, you switch your phone on every 10 minutes to see if there's messages and whatever else. This can show you how many steps that you've walked if you're using a Fitbit as an example, text messages, direct messages, things like that. So it's personal to you right out of the gate. Well, then what we did is we optimized each of the edges of the screen. So for example, on each of our different devices, if you slide up from the left, you get what's called the launcher. This is the most frequently used applications. From the right-hand side, you can multitask through your apps. One of the things that we found from our user testing was with Android, there's a lot of variance in how you switch between different apps. It's confusing on an iPhone. With an Ubuntu phone, you just slide from the right edge of the screen. It's as simple as that. So each of these different edges do something specific. One of the other things that many of you will hate is fragmentation. And we don't want to get into the business of fragmentation. So we explored ways in which we could have OEMs customize the phone but maintain the core of the Ubuntu phone as it is. So there's 2 primary layers in which OEMs can do this. This is one thing we get all the time, questions all the time about the Ubuntu phone, is how do you stop becoming as fragmented as other platforms? So with the Ubuntu phone, you can customize the look and the feel of it and the theme and those kinds of things. But fundamentally, the structure of the phone remains the same. What we found from talking to most carriers is that carriers are increasingly becoming content companies. If they're not delivering content themselves, they're partnering with content companies such as Netflix and Comcast. So the other area in which we provide an area of differentiation is what we call scopes. So when you open up an Ubuntu phone, you can flip between these different screens, apps, home, music, people, videos. These are different views on content that can pull content from the internet, content that's local on your phone. And this is a place where carriers can push content to you. This has become a really valuable feature on the Ubuntu desktop as well as on the Ubuntu phone. So this is a great way in which the core operating functionality of the phone will remain the same, but then we can differentiate with carriers. So speaking of carriers, we set up something called the Carrier Advisory Group. One of the pieces of feedback that we'd heard was that with some of the platforms, it's really difficult to influence. It's difficult to change it and to get patches and things such as that. So the Ubuntu community has been around for many years. We have a long history of working with OEMs and carriers and hardware companies and developers and everything else. So we set up the Carrier Advisory Group to put together a forum in which carriers can say, these are the kind of challenges that we face, so they can actually influence their development of Ubuntu as well. And we've got carriers from pretty much most major markets now. We've got a couple of the major carriers in the US, still working on the others. So, the other key thing as well that we found was from an application development. I know some people with their hands up as developers. From an app dev perspective, we don't want to force someone to write apps in one particular platform. So we built an SDK where you can write native apps using QML. We also want people to be able to deliver HTML5 apps as well. Our HTML5 apps integrate neatly into the platform, so there's APIs for all the system functions as well. It shares the look and the feel of the Ubuntu phone as well, so it doesn't feel like a web app that's trapped in a tab. Now, just before I finish up, I just want to talk quickly about the community. Our community is at the core of what we do in Ubuntu. Well, the day that we announced the Ubuntu phone, we also asked our community if they wanted to participate and get involved in building out big chunks of the phone. We had 1,500 developers sign up within the first week who were interested in helping out. They've built the 12 core apps that we've got on the phone. We've been working on that as well. And we've also had a partnership with XDA. Our view is you should be able to run Ubuntu Touch on any handset. We were speaking at the XDA conference this last weekend in Miami, and it's already been ported to 45 different handsets as well. And then just before I wrap up, some of you may be familiar with the Ubuntu Edge campaign. It looks like that. It also looks like this, if anyone wants to come and check it out. We're trying to raise $32 million as part of a crowdfunding campaign. We beat 2 out of the 3 records. It's a pretty It's a pretty beefy spec phone. It's $695. I'm not going to be an ad though, so you can go and check it out at this website. And with that, I'm going to hand it back over to my good friend here. I'm going to...